Assalamualaikum. Welcome back to another episode of In the Arena. मैं हूँ Asma Mustafa Khan and I'm always very joyous when I'm hosting these programs because it's a privilege and honor to be in a country जहाँ पे दुनिया भर के लोग आए हुए हैं और उन्होंने यहाँ पे रह के अपना बहुत अपने अपने मुल्क के झंडे गाड़े हैं. But at the same time you get to meet so many Pakistanis जो पाकिस्तान से हैं, दुनिया भर में घूमे हैं, फिर भी अपने आप को आइडेंटिफाई कराना चाहते हैं एज पाकिस्तानीज. और आजकल यूएई में धूम मची हुई है. अगर आप रेस्टोरेंट्स में जाएं एक ऐप की एक सिस्टम की, आई डोंट नो इफ आई शुड कॉल इट अ ऐप, व्हिच इज कॉल्ड स्पेड्स. यानी कि गए वो दिन जब आपको इंतजार करना है, यू हैव टू वेव टू द वेटर कि आई एम डन, कैन यू प्लीज गेट माई बिल, एंड यू हैव टू वेट फॉर द बिल टू कम टू यू. यू डोंट हैव टू डू दैट एनी मोर. You can order, eat, just tap, pay, split, make the tip happen, all of that very instantly through Spades. I'm going to introduce the personality who's with us today. He's Adnan Haque. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much for making time for this.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Let's start from Pakistan. So you were born in Lahore.
Yes, born in Lahore.
Okay.
Fatma Memorial.
Okay.
I grew up there for the first 5 years of my life.
Right.
And then after the age of 5, we actually moved to London,
okay.
to UK. Spent the next 5 years of my life in London. It's funny, I went to an American school in Lahore, and even in the UK, they've got great education system, but I was there in the American school there as well.
Okay.
And then went back to Pakistan. My father and my mother wanted to go back and make sure we had our roots. Got to know our grandparents.
How is the transition at that point? जब बच्चा 10 साल का होता है, there's a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit challenging, but you know, I assimilated back into Pakistani culture very easily.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'd grown up in Lahore, I think it's a lot easier.
So 5 साल Lahore, 5 साल London. Then how many years back in Lahore?
Till I was the age of 16, and then I went for university. So another 5-6 years.
Then you went to Canada.
Then I went to Canada, exactly. So I got into actually an engineering program, computer science at McMaster, just outside of Toronto. And I studied there for a few years. I spent 11 cold winters in Canada.
और उसके बाद UAE.
I got an opportunity to come to the Middle East for the first time. I got an internship at a JV between the Sovereign Wealth Fund, Mubadala, and GE. It was an amazing experience, although it was in the summer. I came in the summer of 2011.
Did you miss Canada then?
No, not at all actually. I'll take the heat over cold any day. But I came here in 2011. Things were still kind of, coming back to life after the whole, the whole crash in 2009, 2008. So, and at that time it was the Arab Spring, and things were kind of really starting to move again. And I saw this country as an amazing stepping stone for the next step in my career.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then I ended up finishing my master's in Chicago. I got an opportunity to finish my last semester at Booth. And that's where things dramatically changed. So I went from building investment products to building tech startups and e-commerce companies.
Yeah.
I met an entrepreneur. He's built hundreds of startups globally.
Yeah.
And I was hired for his team to come and build the region. It was basically.
Was this the rocket?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So and basically the model was very simple. You take successful businesses from the West, and you go and innovate in execution. So you end up. So I ended up first in Istanbul, trained there for a few weeks, went to Karachi, set up Daraz and Azmalo, hired the team there. Then I moved to Cairo. At Cairo, we set up Jumia. It was mostly an outsourced kind of content creation in Arabic for the team in Saudi and UAE. But it was also a great experience because we ended up setting up essentially e-commerce in Egypt as well.
I'll pause you here because I want to go back to one thing you said. You said rocket ke time pe you went to Cairo, did all of that, went to Pakistan. There was you were setting up the Raz, and the other one, there was a lot of hiring that you did, and these were graduates right out of university. And I remember at the time, you know, that there's hiring for that happening. How was that exposure? Because आप पाकिस्तान से काफी अरसे से दूर चले गए थे, right? और फिर कनाडा, स्पेन, यूके, ये तमाम एक्सपोजर लेने के बाद when you went back to Karachi, and what was your experience with the graduates? How did you find them?
So it's really interesting. So yes, I was out of Pakistan for a very long time, but I was still very connected to Pakistan. So I grew up there. My best friends are from there. I ended up, going and visiting very often. So I still felt a very deep connection with Pakistan, and I kept that alive. I was on the phone with my cousins and my friends, and I was doing interviews remotely, even while I was still finishing off my master's. So, the whole experience with a global accelerator is that you just have to move super fast. One of my cousins went to LUMS, so he connected me with the coordinator there, IBA. So I went to the campus, I did presentations with the team, talked to them about what we were trying to do is build e-commerce in the region. Localize.
समझ आता था उस वक्त? I mean, back in 2012, would people get it?
100%.
Really?
And actually, the economy was just waiting for it. The people were very hungry for a change. क्योंकि देखें, we're all connected, right? We're all connected. I think what happened 20 years ago is that everybody wanted to become more digitally connected. And then when you add commerce into it, it just adds this whole convenience piece, right? And I think Pakistan mein, yes, it was, very early days in 2012. And then you just saw it kind of take off. And I think that, you've got a very young, digitally native population that are ready for changes, right? The government may change, the economy might have its challenges, but technology is there to add value.
True that.
So we've seen that already.
If I can just talk a little more, we will continue on your journey. But talking about Pakistan and talking about startups and talking about how the governments may come and go, but there's one solid team of these entrepreneurs who are just at it. And I've heard so many of them say, do whatever, but hame kaam karne de. Like really, really focused. At the same time, you see the country going through this transition when it comes to startups. I mean, places where people were really, really keen to join or बहुत दिल लगा के काम भी किया, and we see them exiting very gracefully, but exiting, making those tough decisions that this is not a country we're going to operate in now. What do you have to say on that?
Look, I think there's definitely countries, economies, the global economy goes through ups and downs, recessions. But if you look at companies that are purely adding value to somebody's everyday life, those are the companies that will continue to survive. I think companies that end up spending aggressively to acquire customers are the ones that end up getting hurt the most, right? Is that if you're with a product that actually ends up, creating a new kind of industry or kind of helping an industry, as long as there's tapered growth, and of course you're a startup, you want to show how you're disruptive, and you want to show how you can grow super fast, but not at a cost that will end up affecting hundreds of thousands of jobs when a downturn does come. So we've been just from a personal experience, when it comes to Pakistan, whether the government changes, the economy goes through whatnot, there is definitely a lot of opportunities to add value in technology sector or other, even brick and mortar sectors. But as long as it's tapered and it's, measured growth.
Right. So coming back to where we left off your journey, so you came to the Middle East, and what made you? Do you call this home now?
Yeah,
considering homes, they say home is never a place; it's the people. But is it home now?
Yeah, it's home for where we're living. Right. I always consider home where my parents are. So when my parents moved to Canada, before it was Pakistan, then we were living in London, and then when they moved to Canada, it was Canada became home. And then when they moved back to Pakistan, I automatically started referring to back home, and it was no longer Canada. So that's for me home. However, we we call a lot of places our home.
Yeah.
My wife, she's Moroccan, so Morocco is also our home. Our kids were born in Spain, so Madrid is also kind of a home. But yeah, at the end of the day, home is where you end up having the best kind of friends and family around you.
I think that too is such a luxury and a privilege to be able to call so many places home.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
It is. Right? It is. I'm very blessed and very lucky.
How has calling UAE a home been for you?
Look, when I came here in 2011, it was a wild card. When I came here, I was working for a small team, private equity team, that was looking at, acquisition targets to build a commercial finance shop. What I fell in love with was the fact that this country was literally giving opportunities to anybody and everybody. And I think that was the biggest, calling for me, is that, people that live in UAE are absolutely blessed to have a country that supports them, that gives them opportunities, that has the right processes and infrastructure in place to help people like me succeed.
You think it's what would you say on the ease of doing business in the UAE?
Look,
I've heard very contrasting views.
Really?
I've heard it's the best place, and I've heard don't even think. Where do you fall?
So I definitely feel it's one of the easiest places to do business.
Okay.
I've done it in Pakistan, in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, even in Canada. There's definitely, every market has its own pros and cons, but I think this hub is built to help businesses come, grow, and essentially expand. Right? When it comes to ease of doing business, companies set up innovation hubs like the DIFC FinTech Hive, In5 Tech as well, which is a TCOM group. So there's a lot of government support in helping businesses set up and start. And then obviously there's benefits from a taxation perspective. Even though there's some fees that you definitely need to pay, you're essentially helping people that either come from developing countries set up here, or even Western countries come and expand their brand. There's safety, there's security, there's incredible schools, there's amazing places to take your family. And I'm not just talking about UAE. I've recently been in Saudi Arabia, and Riyadh is absolutely phenomenal. The kind of infrastructure that they've built for expats and even Saudis to live is quite inspiring.
I wanted to ask, you've mentioned the Emirates Airlines, and you've been with Do and all these organizations, fantastic ones, right? And then you go the startup way, and then you go back, and then you go the startup way. So what is this? Tell us about this hopscotch.
So it's funny, Emirates was a really interesting switch because they were going through a very similar internal startup transformation. So building digital solutions for baggage handlers, to the crew, their rosters, to them taking orders in different classes. So, he brought me on board because of my startup experience. So building this digital ecosystem that kind of complemented the amazing airline that everybody loves was a challenge that we readily accepted, and we really wanted to kind of build this complementing digital and physical experience. So it's kind of like this really nice as I call phygital.
I read that in one of the articles. There was a question: what is a phygital space? So it's the physical and the digital when it blends together. Is that what it is?
Exactly. Because nobody wants to live in a purely digital world, right? I mean, at least that's my my
You're
opinion.
saying that.
People still want human interaction. They still want to have a great kind of experience that is complemented by convenience, and where the digital aspect of it comes in is that convenience factor. So if you can build something that's frictionless and really smooth on top of an amazing physical experience, that's what I call kind of a phygital.
Copyrighted. That's a really nice one. Makes so much sense. Because generally people say that if you have one thing adat pad jaye, a corporate job is very secure, there's money coming in at the end of every month, there are lots of perks, benefit. You can get very used to it. So that itch, in order to fulfill it, it's not hard for you to let go. So it seems.
I think for me it's a little bit different. Even though I worked, so once I left the corporate life in Canada, I never really did the corporate gig.
Okay, so it was more consulting,
So
resident consulting.
even if, like at Emirates, I was, always trying to disrupt and shake things up. I think, I had a reputation of always trying to, be a little bit different and try and question, and even at Do, I did the same thing. And I think really the learning for me is not whether you're in a corporate or if you're in a startup. At the end of the day, you have to treat it like it's your business.
Right.
And you have to ask the questions, the difficult questions. Why. And you can't stop at saying, oh, because of some C-level executive said it. Even today at Spades, I'm the co-founder. But if somebody asks me why, I will have to answer them, right?
How does it happen? I mean, how did Spades happen, for example? Was there an idea? Was it the network chatting about something? Was it you exposed to the product outside of the Middle East and thought, why don't we bring it here?
So Mehdi and I, we were playing tennis, and after tennis, we were discussing different ideas about startups. I think one of the discussions we were having is, let's think about ideas that don't exist here. And one of his ideas was more telco focused. My idea was really around this concept of planned party pay, right? So I had it many years ago. I'm known as the chief happiness officer in the company. I'm always connecting people, and they, the pain point of getting a group together, planning it, and then going and maybe a restaurant not having your dish or not knowing your allergies. And then the last part is the bill, right? So if I'm organizing, the guy comes and gives me the bill, and I'm sitting around saying, okay, are you splitting? How much? And somebody's like, I only came for like the appetizer. I didn't have it. So what we're trying to do is essentially do the last part.
So how does it work? If I go to a restaurant, like I said, I have to scan this.
So
I scan this. ये पहले से पड़ा हुआ है टेबल पे.
जी. This sits on the table. It basically offers you the menu, which is not really our business, but you can see the menu. And then you typically sit down at a restaurant. The server would come over. You'd place an order. And essentially, as soon as they place the order, it's automatically it comes up in there. Exactly. So the beauty is that we're fully integrated. So we integrate into the POS. The point of sale ordering system. They send the order back to the kitchen, the customer dines, and then typically on a busy night, Friday, Saturday, when you want to leave, you're chasing the server down for the bill, right? And especially from the server's perspective, they can be serving dessert or giving a last drink to somebody, but instead of that, what they're doing is they're standing with a machine and trying to collect payment from 4 people who themselves are arguing about who's paying for what. So really, that's our core product.
This is going to be a hit in Pakistan or a complete miss, because the way we do our bills, there's like this whole thing going on. No,
for sure. So it's funny, in Saudi, it's very similar. Even in UAE, right? It's like this fight over the bill. And I think in Pakistan, it'll work really well too. But I think really what we're trying to solve for is if you want to pay, you can do it in less than 10 seconds. So it's 2 clicks.
I don't need to have any app. I just tried. So I just opened my camera, scanned it, and the bill came. And then Adnan paid whatever he wanted to pay, and the rest came to me. So it showed, and I could even put in the tip amount there as well. Right? Percentages, very, very cool. Very awesome. Is it going to disrupt the serving industry? Because tomorrow, if you allow me to just place my order online, then I don't really need the server to come to my table at all. Just to get the food, maybe.
I think yes and no. There are some of our customers that are saying, I'd like to have ordering as well. But we're not replacing the server at all. Actually, that's the last thing we want to do. When you want to go for a meal, typically when you sit at a fine dining, premium luxury restaurant, you end up going and you want to have this escape, right? I call it theatrics, I call it production. So typically, I don't know if you ever worked in the industry, but there's a lot of, the food industry, the F&B, hospitality, entertainment. So there's a lot of prep that happens in the back of the house before you actually enter that space. The ambiance, the music, the prep in the kitchen, everything is ready like clockwork, right? So what we're doing is we're trying to increase that time for the service staff to really be able to provide a better service instead of working on very administrative tasks. And the beauty is, since we're fully integrated, everything shows up in the POS. The next day, the finance team gets the reports, and you don't have to have a struggle on something that calculating the tip, calculating the amount. It's basically beautiful and seamless.
How many restaurants have come on board with this?
So
in
we've
the
got over
UAE?
200 that we've signed, and we're just about to launch Saudi as well.
Excellent.
Pakistan is definitely in our roadmap.
Really?
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh,
I think that
nice.
the population is craving for technology like this.
Yeah. It's a massive hit. I can see it.
Thank you.
Very amateur perspective, but I do think, I mean, it's a struggle that so many of us go through. It'll be a relief. I think there's been a shift, right? From the whole that no, only this gender is supposed to pay and all of that. That has shifted. So we've come a long way from there. So this should be a big thing. So the next big thing for you is Saudi and hopefully Pakistan.
Yeah, so we're opening up in a lot of different markets.
Okay.
That's definitely, we've focused on UAE. It was very important for us to get it right. We have some amazing brands already. A lot of brands that you and I would identify with, places that you would typically go on a regular basis, community, neighborhood kind of brands. And we have that same approach for each of our markets. We feel that what we're doing for the industry is really giving back time to the staff to not just go and provide better service, but they go home faster, right? When at the end of the night, when everything is done, they're not counting bills and settling up the amounts.
Yeah.
And we've tripled tips.
Lovely,
so in a lot of our
really.
restaurants,
awesome. Because it's so convenient to tip now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So actually, that machine that you bring to tap has ruined tipping. The whole tipping culture now is I can put in my own amount and I can tip my own amount.
Yeah.
If you do the percentage calculation of, we do
That's
5,
really nice,
10, 15.
5, 10, 15, yeah.
And some of our restaurants want 10, 15, 20, but it's up to the restaurant, right? And that's really the customization we provide to them.
Okay.
So that, a 15 dirham tip doesn't seem like so much.
Yeah.
And it all goes back, very easily back to the
Lovely. Awesome. Any tip that you'd like to give people who'd like to enter the startup industry, how difficult it is, how easy it is? If you'd like to prepare them with something, what would that be?
Yeah, I think one of the tips I gave was, own every role as you are an owner, as a shareholder, as a stakeholder, yourself. I think for me that's really important. It always made a difference in my career. Even I would have some of my colleagues or senior management team saying, why are you constantly trying to, push? And to me, it's like, I would do that if it was my company. It doesn't matter if you're in corporate or in startup, right?
Just that mindset of ownership,
And end-to-end ownership, right? So when you start something, make sure you finish it. But I think the second thing is, it comes hand to hand with the same kind of idea is, always be ready to ask why. Right? Always be able to question, be able to put yourself out there. If hesitating and trying to think, oh, that person might not like the fact that I asked them this question. Of course, if it's not appropriate, but if it's very valid, make sure you put yourself out there and ask the right questions and constantly be questioning yourself why.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Adnan.
Thank you, Asma.
Absolute pleasure, and I hope this goes places.
Thank you so much.
It will. Thank you. Thank you very much. Till Spades come to you in Pakistan. I hope this has given you a taste of what it would be like. Apna khayal rakhiyega till we meet in the next episode of In the Arena. Do let us know how you're finding this. Until then, look after yourselves and Khuda Hafiz.